Hi again, everybody, and welcome to Bengals Breakdown, a new year of Bengals Breakdown here on Bengals.com. I'm Dan Hoard. He is Bengals.com editor Geoff Butch Hobson. And this week, the Zac Taylor era officially begins as the Bengals head to the West Coast to take on the Seattle Seahawks. It's an interesting contrast in the two head coaches. You have 67-year-old Pete Carroll, oldest head coach in the NFL, even though he looks about 25 years younger, against Zac Taylor, 36 years old, second youngest head coach in the NFL. Pete Carroll has coached 342 games between the NFL and college football. This will be number one as a head coach for Zac Taylor.
This is, you've got a studio, Hoardy, to fit your network presence, so it's glad to be here with
it's
you.
It's nice in here.
Yeah, I want to go right to your exclusive you had with Coach Pete Carroll, the first conference call in history that was an exclusive earlier this week, and he talked about how his debut, which was 25 years to the day of your interview with him, when his Jets team, the 1 year he coached the Jets, went to Buffalo, which was, as he said to you, in the middle of their run. I think they were coming off a Super Bowl appearance and one of their 4 losses, I think, and then you get this probably not a very good Jets team going up there, and they won in Buffalo 23-3. So I think that's a lesson for Zac, because I'm sure as many people thought the Jets would beat the Bills that day as people are going to pick the Bengals to beat Carroll Seahawks. But like he said, you get a few breaks, good things happen for a young coach.
All right, let's talk about the matchup specifically, beginning with Seattle's offense. Number one in the NFL last year in rushing yards per game, 160. Even though they have Russell Wilson and he threw 35 touchdown passes last year, he threw the ball fewer than any other starting quarterback in the NFL. It's a big, strong, downhill rushing attack with a powerful offensive line, a major challenge for the Bengals defensive line.
Yeah, Hoardy, it's it's an AFC North game that's stuck out there on the West Coast on the first weekend of the year in September. It kind of should be a December game in Pittsburgh, it seems like. But it's an interesting matchup because that running game that Seattle has, and you and Lapp had the stat, I think, yesterday, 22% of their formation, 22% of the time they're in a 6-man line, and the Bengals, probably their strongest position group in the preseason was their defensive line. I mean, heck, they kept 11 of them. So obviously, all 11 will not be active. It'd be interesting to see how many they have up. But big game for the tackles, and I think probably 2 of their better players in the preseason. Ryan Glasgow coming off that ACL, Josh Tupou, the big nose tackle. It's going to be interesting to see these guys, try and stop that smash mouth game. And then on the other end, you get what's keeping Bengals fans up late at night is a rebuilt offensive line going into Seattle, loudest place, I guess, in this galaxy, from what you hear. And they may be down to their 3rd left tackle, Andre Smith, who could be making his 2nd NFL start there if Cordy Glenn is not back from his concussion. You got a rookie left guard. You got Trey Hopkins, who was just promoted to center, who has played center before, but he's only started maybe 6 or 7 games there. So not exactly an ideal matchup for those guys going against that defense. Now that defensive front maybe isn't as formidable as it has in the past with suspension and trades. But of course, they just traded for Clowney, the great pass rusher from Houston. Now, how much he's going to be able to go, who knows? But he'll certainly be out there on all 3 downs. I mean, on all 3rd downs, and it's going to be an AFC North challenge. They're going to have to establish Joe Mixon to make things easy on that line, and Andy Dalton.
I'll tell you what I'm looking forward to seeing: Zac Taylor's offense. Pete Carroll doesn't know quite what to expect, and honestly, either do we. He comes from the Rams. The Rams offense under Sean McVay, number 1 overall in points scored if you combine the last 2 seasons. While Zac Taylor was there, they kept it vanilla in the preseason. Everybody does, but the Bengals, it was like Graeter's Madagascar bourbon bean vanilla, super vanilla, delicious vanilla. But it'll be interesting to see, now that we get to see this thing for real, just what that offense looks like.
Boy, it won't be one of Hojo's 28 flavors. That's for sure. We hope not. But I think, talking to some of the guys, the run game was, I think they only used like 2 runs, I think. And I think they're kind of banking on having a very diverse look. And Zac talked about it when he got here, was do the same things but out of different looks, and that's going to be interesting. The thing that kind of I found intriguing during the preseason was Andy didn't have any of his targets. I mean, he goes through a preseason, and granted, it's only 7 drives. I think they scored 2 touchdowns on the first one and on the last one of the preseason. But what I found interesting was that A.J. Green didn't take a snap. John Ross didn't take a snap. Tyler Eifert didn't have a catch. Joe Mixon had 1 carry. And yet Andy completed 68% of his passes at 8 yards per throw and didn't get sacked. He took 1 shot. That's pretty good. I mean, and to me, it shows kind of the tip of what Zac is planning. I thought for sure that Prince William caught a pass for the Bengals. I mean, everybody caught a pass. Cody Core was their leading receiver. He's gone. So I think Taylor is kind of they're putting their chips on this thing as being versatile, and it's interchangeable. You might not have A.J. Green, but these guys are going to step in there, and the X's are going to match the O's.
Well, speaking of Andy Dalton, the Bengals have not been to Seattle since his rookie year, 2011. He led the Bengals to a victory that day, the 4th win in a 5-game winning streak his rookie year when the Bengals made the playoffs when nobody expected them to. Sound familiar? It's what they're trying to do this year. For Geoff Hobson and our photographer Marissa Contepelli, I'm Dan Hoard. Thanks for checking out Bengals Breakdown here on Bengals.com.